Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to look at a pretty radical idea for education. It's a model that wants to transform the classroom from, a place where you just sit and listen into a living, breathing ecosystem. A space that's not just about pushing information out, but about creating a community where learning is the shared vital pulse.
And this is really the key to the whole thing. This story doesn't start in some academic journal or a think tank. It starts with a simple human connection. The entire heartbeat classroom model, which was developed by the educator Ignacio Chavez Malgoza, it all grew out of a single moment of trying to help and a personal discovery he'd made years before.
So the journey really begins all the way back in 1998. When Chavez made that jump from being a student to being a teacher, he had this huge realization. The simple act of having to explain something to someone else, it forced him to understand it on a way deeper level. He figured out that to teach is really to learn twice. So flash forward a couple of decades to 2019. He makes a video to help just one student who is struggling. And what happens? That video accidentally creates this spontaneous global learning community online. And that sparked the big question that drives this whole model. How in the world do you intentionally build a classroom that has that same amazing collaborative, supportive energy?
So how do you do it? How do you actually design a classroom that feels alive? How do you build an ecosystem instead of just a room full of desks? Well, Chavez came up with a two-part answer, a kind of blueprint for turning a group of students into a real learning community.
Okay, so the first concept is what he calls the CII, or the Intentional Learning Community. Now think about it. An online group just kind of happens, right? It's spontaneous, it's driven by a shared interest. A CII, on the other hand, is designed from the ground up. It takes all the best parts of that organic energy, the excitement, the peer support, and it channels it with a very clear educational purpose, and most importantly, a structure built for collaboration.
The second piece of the puzzle is the ACI, which stands for Integrative Collaborative Learning. So if the CAI is the what, the intentional community, then the ACI is the how. It's the specific methodology. It's the operating system that really makes the heartbeat classroom tick. It's all about creating this diverse structure where every single person isn't just there, they're a vital piece of a much larger system.
But the real engine behind this model, it isn't just about the structure. It's a deep philosophy that totally redefines what it means to be a student on a team. We're moving way beyond just working together here. This is about actually becoming a team.
And that philosophy is Ubuntu. It's this ethical framework that basically says, I am because we are. Your individual success is pretty much meaningless unless it helps the entire group grow. In a classroom built on Ubuntu, excellence isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about using your strengths to lift up everybody around you. It completely flips the script from competition to genuine cooperation.
Okay, so let's get into how these teams are actually built, because it's not random at all. It's this carefully engineered process. First, the teacher does a quick diagnosis of the class, just identifying 4 general levels of understanding. Then, and this is a brilliant move to build trust right away, the students who need the most support get to choose a high-performing student they feel comfortable with. That creates a secure bond from day one. Then, that leader picks an intermediate student to be a kind of support bridge, and the rest of the class is distributed to make sure all the teams are balanced and diverse.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. These levels aren't just labels. They're transformed into these meaningful roles. So a student isn't just level 1, they are the guardian of purpose. And their mission is to use their strengths to lift everybody else up. And the student who needs the most help, they're not level 4. They are the foundation of the future because their resilience and their effort are the very reason the team has to come together. Every single student gets a purpose-driven identity that's essential for the group to succeed. It's powerful stuff.
Now, this model doesn't just change how students work together, it also fundamentally changes how we can approach modern challenges, especially things like grading and, of course, the rise of artificial intelligence. It really meets the future head-on.
And here is the crucial shift when it comes to evaluation. The old model is all about the final product, right? The final essay, the right answer, which, let's be honest, is super vulnerable to a quick copy and paste from AI. The heartbeat classroom, though, it evaluates the process. It's not about what answer you got. It's about the journey you took to get there. A journey that's revealed when the student tells their own learning story.
And this is where AI fits in perfectly. Instead of being this scary threat we have to ban, AI is embraced as a tool, a co-pilot. For the teacher, it's great for planning activities and prepping materials. But for the student, it's a 24/7 resource that actually promotes their autonomy. It lets them find information and work through problems on their own, so they can bring deeper, more thoughtful questions to their team.
This all leads to one of the most profound questions we can ask about education right now. In an age where an AI can write an essay or solve a complex equation for us, what is uniquely human? What is the one thing we just can't copy and paste?
And here is the beautiful answer, our own unique learning process. Chavez calls this the heutagogical narrative. It's basically the student's personal story of how they learned something, the strategies that worked, the roadblocks they hit, those aha moments. It's the practice of metacognition, of thinking about how you think, and that is something an AI can never, ever replicate. It is the ultimate proof of learning.
So when you put this all together, what's the ultimate impact? What happens when you build a classroom that actually has a heartbeat? What does this kind of environment produce, beyond just good grades?
Well, the biggest takeaway here is that students learn so much more than just the curriculum. They develop these crucial soft skills, empathy, leadership, communication, because they have to. They're living in a culture of shared responsibility, where the whole team gets rewarded for success, but they also share the penalty if any single member fails. It connects learning to real-world projects and makes collaboration just a natural way of being, not some task you have to do. And in the end, education stops being a preparation for life and actually becomes life itself.
But how do you make sure that actually happens? How do you guarantee that collaboration is more than just a buzzword? Well, the whole system is built on 3 layers of validation. First, there's individual effort. Every student has to wrestle with the material on their own. Second, there's reciprocal collaboration within their team, where they build on that understanding together. And third, there's group-wide interdependence, where that learning is tested and validated by the entire class.
And that 3-layer structure is what makes the whole system so strong. It makes sure that no student is invisible, that nobody can hide or just get lost in the shuffle. Everyone has to engage on their own first, then bring that to their team. And ultimately, that's what creates this perfect balance between personal responsibility and collective success. It proves that your own personal excellence isn't just for you. It's the very foundation that lifts up the whole community.
Which brings us to a final thought. If we start to think of the classroom not as a factory, but as a living system, a microcosm of life itself, it really forces us to ask a new question. What is its heartbeat? Is it the curriculum? Is it the test scores? Or is it the empathy, the collaboration, and the shared human journey of learning together? That's really what this model asks all of us to think about.